Under the command of Sir John Franklin, two ships, the HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, set off from England in 1845. They were to explore the Canadian Arctic in search of the last unexplored sections of the Northwest Passage. The Northwest Passage is a sea route that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, passing through the Arctic Ocean and along the northern coast of North America. European explorers have been looking for this possible western trade route from Europe to Asia by sea for centuries. The Erebus and Terror, as well as the entire crew of 129 men, vanished into the Canadian Arctic, never to return. Sir John Franklin was an Arctic explorer and a British Royal Navy officer. In 1819 and 1825, he led two expeditions into the Canadian Arctic, and his third and final expedition, in 1845, was an attempt to find a route via the Northwest Passage. He served during the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars, as well as the War of 1812. On February 7, 1845, Sir John Franklin was named Expedition Commander. Franklin was granted command of Erebus, with Francis Crozier his executive officer and commander of Terror. James Fitzjames was appointed second in command of Erebus. Terror and Erebus were well built and equipped. Steam engines allowed the ships to travel at a speed of 4 knots. The ships also included reinforced bows made of heavy beams and iron plates, and an internal steam heating system. There was also a system of iron wells that allowed the screw propellers and iron rudders to be retracted into the hull to protect them from damage. They were also given enough food to last at least 3 years. In 1813, the Royal Navy built HMS Terror, a specialized warship and a newly created bomb vessel. She fought in many battles during the War of 1812. Terror was repurposed into a polar exploration vessel in the mid-1830s. The Royal Navy built the HMS Erebus in 1826 as a bomb vessel. Erebus was refurbished as an exploration vessel after 2 years of service in the Mediterranean Sea. On May 19, 1845, the expedition set sail from Greenhithe, England, with 134 officers and crew. For supplies, the ships headed north to Aberdeen and the Orkney Islands, Scotland. They then traveled to the Whalefish Islands in western Greenland's Disco Bay. Some crew members left the expedition, and it continued on with 129 men on board. British whalers last saw the ships north of Baffin Island at the entrance of Lancaster Sound in late July. When no word was received in 1847, search parties were dispatched. Various expeditions would search for the explorers for 12 years. On Beechey Island, the first artifacts were discovered, including the remains of a winter camp from 1845 to 1846, as well as the grave sites of 3 of Franklin's crew members. While surveying for the Hudson's Bay Company in 1854, Scottish explorer John Rae learned of the Franklin's party's likely fate from Inuit hunters. He was told that both ships had become icebound and that the men had attempted to reach safety on foot but had died of exposure and starvation, with some resorting to cannibalism. Many artifacts that were identified as belonging to Franklin and his men were shown to Rae by the Inuit. On another search, Chief Factor James Anderson and HBC employee James Stewart paddled north to the mouth of Back River. A group of Inuit informed them in July 1855 that a number of foreigners had starved to death along the coast. Their fate remained unknown until 1859. A final search mission led by Captain Francis Leopold McClintock and sent by Franklin's wife, Lady Jane Franklin, reached King William Island south and west of Lancaster Sound. Some skeletons of the ship's crew were discovered, as well as a written account of the expedition up to April 25, 1848. This 2-part Victory Point note found in a cairn on King William Island was the only source of first-hand information on the expedition's progress. Between 1845 and 1846, the Franklin expedition spent the winter on Beechey Island, where 3 crew members died and were buried. They were then trapped in the ice in Victoria Strait off King William Island in September 1846. The crew wintered off King William Island in 1846-47 and 1847-48, according to the second portion of the Victory Point note, signed by Fitzjames and Crozier on April 25, 1848. It was also stated that Franklin had died on June 11, 1847. On the 22nd of April, 1848, the remaining crew abandoned the ships and intended to walk over the island and across the sea ice to the Back River on the mainland. beginning on the 26th of April, 1848. By this time, in addition to Franklin, 8 officers and 15 men had already died. The Victory Point note is the expedition's last known communication. All of the remaining crew members are thought to have died on their journey to Back River, according to archaeological findings. 30 to 40 men made it to the mainland's northern coast before dying, still hundreds of kilometers from the nearest outpost. Between 1860 and 1869, 2 expeditions led by Charles Francis Hall, who lived among the Inuit, discovered camps, graves, and artifacts on the southern coast of King William Island. Local Inuit led Hall to a shallow grave on King William Island in 1869, which contained well-preserved skeletal remains and fragments of clothing. Despite the fact that Hall came to the conclusion that the whole Franklin crew was dead, he acquired hundreds of pages of Inuit testimony. These included visits to Franklin's ships and an encounter with a party of white men on the southern shore of King William Island. Inuit accounts point strongly to most of the remaining 105 crew actually surviving past 1848 and managing to sail one of the ships down along the coast of King William Island before it sank, with some crew members surviving as late as 1851. The Franklin Expedition Forensic Anthropology Project visited King William Island in June 1981. They wanted to locate artifacts and skeletal remains so that modern forensics might be used to determine the identities and causes of death of the 129 crew. They noticed areas of pitting and scaling on the bones of Franklin's crew, which are common in cases of vitamin C deficiency, the cause of scurvy. They also noticed skeletal patterns suggesting cannibalism. The crewmen's bones were also found to have an unusually high level of lead. After fragments of hundreds of food tins were examined, one of the possible sources of high lead levels was the lead solder used to seal the tins. The seams were found to be badly soldered with lead, most likely coming in contact with the food. Following further investigation, it was discovered that the ship's distilled water systems could have been another possible source of lead. In 1993, a team of archaeologists and forensic anthropologists uncovered nearly 400 bones, bone fragments, and artifacts. These bones were found to have high levels of lead and numerous cut marks, consistent with defleshing. Some believe that at least some of Franklin's men resorted to cannibalism in their dying hours. Their deaths were most likely caused by a combination of cold, malnutrition, and disease such as scurvy, and also pneumonia and tuberculosis, all of which was made worse by lead poisoning. More recent chemical re-examination has cast doubt on the lead poisoning. And according to a 2016 study, the crew's bad health may have been caused by malnutrition, specifically zinc deficiency. In 2008, the Canadian government launched a mission to uncover additional archaeological evidence of the Franklin expedition. And in September 2014, the wreck of HMS Erebus was discovered in Wilmot and Crampton Bay, near the Adelaide Peninsula. In September 2016, the wreck of HMS Terror was discovered in Terror Bay on the south coast of King William Island, noted to be in excellent condition. The ship was remarkably well preserved. Terror's hull was still intact, proving that the ship had not broken up in the ice. The wrecks were found many miles south of their last known location off the northwest coast of King William Island. Some believe the Terror must have been crewed and sailed to this location. HMS Terror was discovered 92 kilometers or 57 miles south of the location where the ship was reported abandoned. The discoveries would not have been possible without the support and knowledge shared by Inuit. Another positive accomplishment was the mapping of thousands of miles of unsurveyed coastline in the Canadian Arctic. Franklin's selected passage took Erebus and Terror into ice that didn't usually clear in summer, whereas the passage along the island's east coast regularly clears in summer and was eventually used by Roald Amundsen in its successful navigation of the Northwest Passage in 1903 to 1906. We may never fully know all the details of what happened to Franklin's lost expedition unless more evidence is found. Parks Canada and Inuit will protect and present the National Historic Site for future generations, and the work is not yet done. There are thousands of artifacts still left to be discovered as the wrecks of both ships will be explored in the near future. If you want to learn more, please visit the Parks Canada website for more information and updates on future explorations of the ships. You can also watch a guided tour inside the HMS Terror that was explored in 2019. Links are below in the description.